Hi team, welcome to Cloud Pandit. In this Azure Data Factory Master Program video series, from today onwards, we do a complete labs and hands-on. So if you look at today's session, if this is a hands-on, we will see how to copy data from Source Blob to Sink Blob using exactly 15 steps in the Azure Data Factory. So let's see what are the prerequisites for this hands-on. We needed two storage accounts. One is for Source Blob storage, another is for the Sink Blob. From one is for extracting the data, another is for loading the data into the sink. Azure Data Factory, we need one Azure Data Factory. So within Azure Data Factory, we will have a integration runtime. So the default integration runtime is auto resolve integration runtime of type Azure. That is what we will use. We will not be creating a new integration runtime, but we will be using one integration runtime of type Azure integration runtime. Then I'll create a two linked service. One is for Source Blob and another is for the Sink Blob. Then I'll create a two data sets. One is for source, another is for sink. Then I'll be using a activity is called copy activity, one activity to copy data from Source Blob to Sink Blob. Then I'll be using a one pipeline. The pipeline name is ingestion pipeline because I'm ingesting data from Source Blob to the Sink Blob. Let's see those 15 steps. The step one is, as I mentioned, I'll create a Source Blob. Step 2 is I'll create the Sink Blob. Step 3, I'll create the Azure Data Factory. Now, step 4, I'll go back to the Source Blob. I'll create a custom container. In that, I will upload the read data.csv. Okay. Then, similarly, I'll go back to the Sink Blob. I'll create a custom out folder, or you can say container in the Sink Blob. After that, I'll open the Azure Data Factory Studio. And in the Azure Data Factory Studio, I'll create a linked service for the Source Blob and I'll create a linked service for the Sink Blob. So two linked services is required. That is what I mentioned in the prerequisite. And once that is completed, I'll create a one data set for source, one data set for sink. So total we need two data sets. That's what I mentioned. Then I'll be creating a one pipeline. Within this pipeline, I'll be using a copy data activity to copy data from source data set that is pointed to the source blob to the sink data set which points to the sink blob. Once the pipeline is ready, now we need to run the pipeline. So how we can able to run? So we can able to run the pipeline by using the debug, or once you publish you can able to use the trigger. So these are the total 15 steps that I am going to follow in order to complete this particular lab. So let's not waste any more time. Let's log in into the Azure portal and do the our hands on. Okay, portal.azure.com. I'll just follow the steps. So let's first, as per this diagram, we will continue. So we need to create a source blob, sink blob, and ADF. Let's complete these three steps first, and then I'll come back. Okay. Now, first let's create search for storage account. Go to storage account. Click create storage account. If you want to know more about linked service dataset, storage account, prerequisites, etc., you can just go and watch my previous videos. You will come to know. Okay. From now onwards, only we will have the complete hands-on. Okay. So this is the subscription. This is the resource group. So storage is Cloud Pandit Source Blob. Okay. Then so if it is somebody has taken, you can just add number 1 to it. Okay. Click review. Click create. Okay. Now come to the second storage, portal.azure.com. Open the portal again in the second tab. So because I want to make each service in a different tabs, for navigation it will be easy. Search for storage account. Step 2 I am following. Step 2 also creating the storage account, but this storage account is for the sink. So I'll be using the same resource group and Cloud Pandit Sink Blob 1. Okay. Just so we won't copy data from east to west to east to west 900 out of 100%. So that's why I'll just at least change the location of the sink blob. Okay, then just click review plus create. Click create. So second step is completed. The third step is I'll be opening the portal.azure.com from the third tab. I'll create the Azure Data Factory. So the third step is I'll create the Azure Data Factory. Click on this, or if you're not able to find there, you can search here, click on this Data Factory, click create Data Factory. Come down, choose the same resource group which you have created, give the name of your data factory Cloud Pandit ADF v2 1108. Okay, so or you can say Cloud Pandit dev ADF v2. Okay, I'll be just using this name. If this name somebody has taken as I mentioned, you can just add 1 to it. Okay, so that works. Then click review plus create. So make sure your data factory is nearest to your sink location or source location. So we suggest to go with the sink location, but yeah, so you can just choose in the sink what location you have chosen. You can just check it here. West India. So it is the suggestible to go with West India. So, but the problem is the data factory is not available in West India. In that case, you can choose the East US only. Then click review plus create. So that is the suggestible, because our compute at one place, our data at one place is not recommended for the latency to access data quickly. So that is one more recommendation. I hope everybody remember and suggest in the projects if something is required. Okay, so that is something you need to follow to get the better performance. Okay, so if you see now, I just created the source blob, sink blob, and ADF. Now, what is the fourth step? Go to source blob, create a cust container and upload the data. Okay, let's do that. Source blob, this is our source blob, you can see. So how to go to containers? This is the container. Inside container, what is the folder you need to create? Cust, create it. Under this container, what file we need to upload? Go inside container. Now you need to upload the real data.csv file. I'm uploading. Okay, just upload this. Now let's open this file and see what data we have in this real data.csv. Click edit. You can see here. So first name, last name, gender, location, the simple data that you can able to create and save it as a CSV. So once the fourth step is completed, what is the next step? Fifth step is create a custom container in the sink blob. I'll be moving on to the sink container we already opened earlier. Just to go inside the containers, click container. You can mark this as a custom created. Okay. You created a cust, you created the cust out at the sink set. So total five steps completed. The sixth step is you need to open the ADF studio. Let's open the ADF studio. This is the ADF studio we created. Let's open that step. Launch studio. So the sixth step is completed. So what is the seventh and eighth step? We need to create two linked services. One is for source, one is for the sink. Okay. So before we move on, let's see the steps. Seventh one is source linked service. Eighth one is the sink linked service. Let's finish these two. From where we will create? We will create from the manage tab linked service. Click new. Select blob. This is a blob storage, and you can say this is a ls for blob, and you can say this is a source. Come down. So this is the integration runtime I'm using of type Azure. This is the subscription. So this is the storage name which we have created, source blob. Test connection. So connection is successful. Source linked service is finished. The step number 7 is completed. We need to create a step number 8. So again, step number 8 is a blob storage. ls blob for sink. Use same integration runtime, account key, authentication type, and storage account is, it's not a source, it should be a sink blob now. Okay, test connection, create it. So now we completed how many steps? If you see, we just created the source and sink linked service. If you go here, 7th and 8th steps are finished. Now 9th and 10th steps are creation of the data sets. Let's go to the author tab. Okay, we have managed tab for creating linked service, author for creating data sets. Click new data set, select blob, Azure blob storage as a CSV. You can say, so because we uploaded the type of data is CSV, that's why. Okay, source, this is a linked service is source, browse it, select cust folder, and this real data.csv. This is what I want to read. Okay, now let's create a Sink data set again. So you need to search for blob. So I want to convert as a JSON ds for blob sync. Okay, target side I am writing it as a JSON instead of the CSV. Where you want to load, I already created the cast out container. We can just choose the cast out container. Automatically that CSV file will be converted into JSON. So JSON file will be loaded. We will see that once pipeline run is completed. Now total 10 steps are completed, 5 more steps pending. The next step is create a pipeline and add the copy data activity. Okay, let's create a pipeline from here. Create a pipeline, name it as a PL underscore data ingestion from blob to blob. Okay. So as I mentioned, the next step, 12th step is bring the copy data activity. What is source? Source is this one. Sink is this one. Correct. Source is source block. Sink is sink block. But these are, once you drag the copy activity, 13th step is select the source data set. 14th step is select the sink data set. That is what I have done. Source side I have selected the source data set. Sink side I selected the sink data set. So with this, our pipeline is ready. Now only step which is pending is we need to debug this particular pipeline. So debug is basically to run the pipeline when you have not published. If you have published, you can also run the pipeline. Okay, so in the debug you can able to execute partial activities, but in the trigger you need to run all the activities. Recently inactivity of each activity configurations we can able to set, which means some of the activities we can disable at running at runtime. Okay, that is also possible. Now if you see this particular copy activity succeeded, what it does, it copies data from source to sink. But sink side, in this container we are expecting data in which format? JSON, real data.json, you can see extension. Let's see here. See, first name, last name, gender, location, all this particular data is loaded into the target in the JSON format. Okay, that's all team. Let's quickly go through the quiz questions. Okay, what does the linked service defines in Azure Data Factory? So as you know, connection to source and destination data stores. So the answer C is correct. How many linked service do you need to create for copying data from blob to blob? 2 linked services. Option B is correct. What does a data set defines? Schema and structure of the data. Answer B is correct. How many data sets do you need to create for copying data from blob to blob? 2 data sets. Answer B is correct. Which activity do you need to use for copying data from blob to blob storage? So data movement activity. Under data movement category of activities, we will use copy activity to copy. What is the purpose of copy activity in copying data from blob to blob storage? To move data efficiently between source and the destination. The answer D is correct. What is the use of pipeline when copying data from blob to blob storage? Pipeline. So pipeline is basically to orchestrate and manage the data copying process. The answer D is correct. Which integration runtime do you need to use when copying data from blob to blob, as it is a public to public, or you can say cloud to cloud? So we can use the Azure integration runtime. The answer B is correct. Okay, that's all team. So I request all of you to put your comments in the comment section. If you like the video, just encourage me. You just like what you are feeling about this video, just put it in the comment section, so that if you like this particular pattern, this step-by-step process, I'll do more videos in the same process. I request all of you to put your comments so that I can respond for your comments and I can just follow as per your understanding, whatever format you are expecting. Thank you.